Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Elissa Atuningtyas. Here I want to analyze an extrinsic and intrinsic element from Oliver Twist movie and for my literature final exam. And here we go. For the first, the character of Oliver Twist movie is number 1 is Oliver, Mr. Solberry, Mrs. Solberry, Noah Claypool, Arthur Dodger, Fagin, Nancy, Mr. Brownlow, and Bill Shakes. Second, the plot development. Expositions. Oliver was an orphan who lived in England in 1830. Oliver lived and is employed at a workhouse. The children there were doing very badly, including Oliver. They work all day but are only given one meal, so they often cannot sleep because they are hungry. One day, the children there did a lottery, where the chosen ones had asked to ask additional food from the cart. Oliver is elected. At dinner time, Oliver hesitantly asks to the cart for extra food. Instead of getting food, Oliver is chased and beaten with a wooden stick, then taken to the city council for punishment, until finally he was sold to a coffin seller named Mr. Sowerberry. Mr. Sowerberry treated Oliver very well. In Mr. Sowerberry's house, there is Noah Claypool, who don't like Oliver because apprentice wearing his position will be replaced. Mr. Sowerberry found there was gloomy expressions on Oliver's face that was very suitable to be used an accompaniment of the corpse. This displeased Noah and began to mock Oliver's mother. An angry Oliver beat Noah repeatedly. As a result, Oliver was locked up in the basement. Not long after that, Mr. Sowerberry came and punished Oliver. But from the expression that was shown, Mr. Sowerberry did have the heart to punish Oliver. Rising actions. Feeling that he would be in trouble in Mr. Sowerberry's house, Oliver decided to run away and planned to go to London, which was about 70 miles by foot. Oliver, who was not eaten for days, falls unconscious on the way. Lucky to have a grandmother help him with food and a place to rest, the next day he returned to continue his journey. After 1 week of walking, he finally arrived in London, penniless and barefoot. He then met Arthur Dodger, a child who worked as a pickpocket, led by an old man named Fagin. Dodger then took Oliver to his house. At there, Oliver was treated very well. Oliver was also taught how to be a pickpocket. At the day, while stealing the handkerchief of a rich man named Mr. Brownlow in front of a bookstore, Oliver is seen the back intending to see the situation first, but directions were discovered by the shop owner. Charlie and Dodger ran away, but Oliver, who feels scared, tried to escape, but he is caught. Oliver was brought to court, but when in court, Oliver had fever and suddenly fainted. So the shop owner came and said that Oliver was not a culprit. Finally, Oliver was released. Mr. Brownlow brought Oliver to his house. Mr. Brownlow saw the kindness and innocence in Oliver that led Mr. Brownlow to adopt him. Oliver's life changed 118 degrees. He was given good clothes, good food, a comfortable place, and will be given a good education by Mr. Brownlow. Climax. At the pickpocket's house, Fagin and Dodger get into an argument because Oliver is caught. Bill Shakes was a member of the pickpocket gang, afraid that Oliver will complain about their whereabouts. They also find out where Oliver is. Nancy, a friend of the pickpocket gang, who was assigned to find out. Oliver, who was then assigned to deliver a book, he was brought to Fagin's house by Nancy. Until one night, Bill Shakes asked Oliver to follow his order to steal in Mr. Brownlow's house, and Oliver was assigned to open the door. Oliver began to not steal in that house, and said he was willing to die. But Oliver is still forced by Bill Shakes. Then entering the house, Mr. Brownlow, Oliver made noise that woke Mr. Brownlow. there is a shot by Bill Shake which injures Oliver's arm. They also try to take Oliver away. Arriving at the Fagin house, Oliver was treated immediately. After that, Bill Shake and Fagin plans to kill Oliver, but the plan heard by Nancy. Nancy is very love Oliver like his own brother, tries to tell Mr. Brownlow secretly about what happened to Oliver. But unfortunately, Dodger found out and reported to Bill Shake. Bill Shake, who was very angry with Nancy, beat her brutally until Nancy died. Falling actions. The next day, Fagin and the other pickpocket kids take Oliver to hide at Toby's house after read the newspaper news about them and Nancy's murder by Bill Shake. The newspaper was reported Bill Shake was always with a white dog named a Bullseye. Bill Shake, who doesn't want his identity known, plans to kill the dog, but the dog ran away yet. Bullseye, who escaped the cruelty of his master, directed the villager to their safe house. An angry Dodger at Nancy killing screamed aloud and causes the villager and police to find out their hideout. The terrified Bill Shake took Oliver to escape through the roof of the resident's house, but when he wanted to jump with a rope, Bill Shake was shocked by the barking of his dog, Bullseye, until he slipped and fell with the rope still entangled in his neck. Bill Shake died. Resolutions. Finally, Oliver lived happily at the Mr. Brownlow home. Oliver says he wants to see Fagin in jail. Fagin, who was afraid of the hanging that awaits him, asks Oliver to release him, but the law is still the law. Oliver looks very sad over Fagin's fate because after all, Fagin has been a good figure for him. The story finishes.
Third theme of this movie is social class, violence, and poverty. Fourth, the point of view of this movie is 3% because the movie is presented with narrator perspective or narrator's feeling. And the moral value of this movie is keep doing good whoever you are, whenever you are, what your life is like. We never know when God will change our life for the better. Our job is only to do good to our creators. Okay, that is my analysis of Oliver Twist movie. I'm sorry for my mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.